In the summer of 1996, a series of pipe bombs started exploding across the Pacific North. Banks were targeted, businesses were being hit, and witnesses described masked men dressed almost like soldiers disappearing into the woods before police could catch them. Then investigators uncovered something even stranger. The bombings might not have just been random attacks. There were rumors of extremist compounds hidden in northern Idaho, survivalist groups training in the forests, and possible terror cells operating almost completely off-grid. For years, most people forgot this story ever happened, but the deeper you look into it, the darker it gets. The 1900s in the Northwest were a weird time, especially around Idaho, eastern Washington, and Montana. The region already had a reputation for isolated militias, anti-government groups, and extremist organizations hiding deep in rural areas. Huge forests, abandoned roads, and tiny mountain towns made it easy for people to disappear. And in 1996, fear started spreading across Spokane Valley after a string of bombings shocked the community. At first, people thought they were isolated incidents, but investigators quickly realized someone was carrying out organized attacks, and whoever they were prepared. The bombings began with pipe bombs detonating near businesses and public areas in Spokane Valley. Some exploded late at night, others went off during the day. The explosions themselves weren't massive, but they caused panic because nobody knew where the next one would be. Witnesses started reporting something chilling. People described masked men wearing camouflage clothing and moving with military-like precision. Not random criminals, not reckless teenagers. These guys seemed trained. Police believe the bombings may have been distractions connected to bank robberies happening around the same time. One theory was that the bombs were designed to pull officers away from certain areas while robberies were carried out elsewhere. And honestly, it worked. Authorities were suddenly dealing with multiple crime scenes, confused reports, and growing public fear all at once. Residents started locking their doors early. Businesses became paranoid, and rumors spread fast, especially in the Northwest. To understand why this case terrified people so much, you have to understand the atmosphere of the region back then. In the 90s, northern Idaho already had national attention because of extremist compounds and white supremacist groups operating in isolated areas. Groups like the Aryan Nation had compounds in the region, and anti-government paranoia was growing after events like Ruby Ridge and Waco. When the pipe bombs started appearing around Spokane, people immediately assumed something bigger was happening. Some believed it was domestic terrorism, others thought it could be militia activity, and some people were convinced a hidden extremist group was preparing for something much larger. Then things escalated again. A Planned Parenthood clinic was bombed. Now the attacks no longer looked like random chaos. The targets suddenly appeared political, and that changed everything. Federal investigators got involved, the media coverage intensified, and the public fear reached another level entirely. Investigators started connecting evidence from the bombings and robberies. Eventually, authorities arrested several suspects tied to extremist beliefs and criminal activity in the Northwest region. But even after arrests were made, questions remained because the operation seemed incredibly organized. The bombs weren't sloppy. The suspects allegedly moved across the state lines, and some investigators believe more people were involved than were ever officially charged. That's where the mystery really begins. Over time, pieces of the story faded from national attention. Unlike massive cases like Oklahoma City, the bombing slowly disappeared from public memory, but people in the region never completely forgot, especially because of the rumors. Rumors about hidden compounds, weapons training in remote forests, underground extremist network, and the idea that some people involved may have escaped detection entirely. Even today, if you dig through old documents or local discussions, you'll still find people debating what was really happening in the Northwest during that time. Why does this case still matter? And why are we even talking about it if no one was caught? Well, looking back now, the Spokane Valley bombings almost feel like a warning sign of what would later become a much bigger issue in America: domestic extremism, anti-government violence, underground radical groups. A lot of fear people dismissed in the 90s eventually became national conversation decades later. And that's part of what makes this story so fascinating. It feels unfinished, like investigators solved enough of the case to stop the attacks, but maybe not enough to uncover the full picture. Because when you look at the evidence, witness statements, and timing of the attacks, it's hard not to wonder if there was something larger happening behind the scenes. Now, let's talk about some conspiracy theories. And, of course, this case led to several conspiracy theories that people still debate today. Some people believe authorities never caught everyone involved. The attacks required planning, coordination, and movement across multiple locations. Critics argue it would have been difficult for only a small group to carry everything out without outside help, and because several suspects had connections to extremist circles in the Northwest, people started wondering if a larger underground network existed. One of the stranger theories claims the bombings weren't originally meant to cause mass casualties. Instead, some believe the attacks were being used as practice runs for future operations. Supporters of this theory point to the use of directions, coordinated movements, and military-style behavior witnesses described. Basically, the idea is that the bombings were testing police response times and public reaction. Authorities covered up bigger connections. This is probably the most controversial theory. Some people believe investigators intentionally downplayed certain extremist connections to avoid causing panic in the region, especially because northern Idaho already had national attention from militia groups and compounds at the time. According to the theory, officials wanted the public to see the bombings as isolated incidents instead of evidence of a broader organized movement. There's no hard proof of that, but it's a theory people still argue about online today. The Spokane Valley bombings have mostly faded from public memory, but for people who lived through it, the fear was very real. Masked men, pipe bombs, extremist rumors, and mysteries buried deep in the forests of the Northwest. Maybe authorities solved the case completely, or maybe there's still more to the story than we know. What do you think? Were these just isolated crimes? Or signs of something much bigger happening in the Northwest during the 90s? Let me know in the comment. Hello, my name is Fliru. I am your host. Welcome back to my channel. Just like to remind you guys, go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment below for other stories. Maybe if you want to recommend some, or if you have your own stories, weird stories, creepy stories, paranormal stories, whatever you have, go ahead and leave in the comments. Maybe I'll make a compilation video of subscriber submitted stories, etc. So go ahead and do that. Leave it in the comments. And also follow my Twitch. Hopefully I remember to put it here and on the screen. Right there. And with that, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.